Hi and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about ChatGPT. Yes, the artificial intelligence application that everyone is talking about. And in fact, it is very, very new because it was released in November 2022 and now it's April 2023 and there have been some new updates to it already that seem to be very exciting. It's a chat-based, generative, pre-trained transformer. So it basically means that you input text and it gives you a reply in return to that. Its main competitors are Bard by Google, and now Microsoft also has Bing Chat, and there are others. But we'll focus today on ChatGPT because it has generated a lot of talk and some professionals have been very impressed with it. For example, I read an article in The Economist recently which was praising the way it was able to generate text and also to translate. I don't agree with that and we'll see why later. So let's begin with translation because a lot of people are going to translate. We're going to look at just two examples. One of them is figurative or metaphorical, and the other one is just a simple sentence that any translator should get right. The first one then is figurative, which is to scratch the surface, which means to talk about a subject in a very artificial way. So look at the two translations here. The first one is from Google Translate. What do you think of it? I chose this particular sentence because it immediately gives an extra clue to Google Translate that this is actually figurative. It's basically a direct translation. Arañar, scratch, not good because you don't say it like that in Spanish. Let's look now at the translation from ChatGPT. Is it at the next level? Well, in this case, I gave it a bit more information. I said, translate the figurative sense of to scratch the surface, which it did in English. And then I said, translate the figurative sense of to scratch the surface in Spanish. And it gave me a lovely long explanation. It says, en español se traduce como raspar la superficie, which is also wrong. In fact, it should be something along the lines of not go into depth. So basically, both of them have failed. Now let's look at an even easier one, which is related to just a normal sentence that you could find. And I say translate to Spanish, and in this case you put a semicolon, which is punto y coma. You always have to do that. I've been working in Renfe for 4 years, and it says the translation in Spanish, he estado trabajando en Renfe durante 4 años. Now, you don't use the present perfect continuous in Spanish because that in fact means that it's a finished event instead of one that continues to the present. So this is a totally wrong translation and is very ambiguous. So in both cases we see that. And in fact, Google does exactly the same translation. So as a translator, they are not good yet. Even in simple, typical, recurring, grammar-based sentences, they do not do well. So fail for both of them. The next thing we're going to look at is a reading text. Now, if you want to improve your reading, then, well, you need to read more. And in this case, ChatGPT can really help you. You can ask it to generate a text on absolutely any type of subject you want. And if you want to practice comprehension, you can say, provide or create comprehension questions for me and give me the answers. You can also ask it to grade the level of the text to different language levels. The fact is, it's absolutely amazing. You see in this example, I asked it to create one about pollution in the world, and give me 5 comprehension questions with the answers, which it did. And in fact, the text is in perfect English. There are no mistakes whatsoever. So this is great for students, and also it's going to save time for language teachers or teachers in general who want to create text with comprehension. So great, works very, very well. Another excellent feature of ChatGPT is that you can practice language through dialogues. The scope is endless because you can ask it to create dialogues in any situation you like, which could be, for example, a shop, a hotel, a restaurant, asking for directions. And also you can create a dialogue like I have done for interviews, job interviews. And here you can see how I begin the dialogue. I'd like to practice a job interview with you. Sure, I'd be happy to help you practice the job interview. Okay, and then I've applied as an English second language teacher at a school in Madrid. So, and then it's we're gonna role play it. And then they ask me for more information, obviously. What we can do is they tell me a bit about your background and experience, which I also do, but I add in some unexpected information, which is I say that apart from a CELTA qualification, I also have a degree in astrophysics. But ChatGPT completely ignores that information, which means that it fails in human interaction. Nobody in a job interview, no interviewer would just ignore it. You'd normally say, what? Astrophysics? Are you serious? But it doesn't. It just totally ignores it. Then it asked me about the age range I'd like to work with. I don't want to work with children because I find children annoying. So I did something negative to see what the result would be. And I said, is that a problem? And then it gives me a whole load of advice in a very robotic way. It's not advisable to express negative opinions about working with certain groups of students during a job interview. Blah, 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 blah. So the advice is good, but normally in an interview, the interviewer wouldn't just give you a paragraph or a minute of advice. They would ask you different questions. Why do you find them annoying, for example? And then that's where you have your opportunity to say all those reasons in which, young children in a classroom are extremely annoying. And then I say, I'm just telling you the truth. Do you have a problem with that? And he says, no, I'm not saying that honesty is a negative attribute. Then he goes on repeating like a robot exactly what it said in the previous paragraph. Then I slightly offend ChatGPT. I say, I find you annoying. Do you feel offended? And then the robot says, as an AI language model, I don't have feelings, so I can't feel offended. However, and then it repeats like a stupid robot, the same dialogue again. So it lacks human interaction, human feeling, and it's not at that stage at the moment. So I would say that is a fail in the dialogue if you put anything that is not in a very, very predictable manner. It lacks creativity and spontaneity and, let's say, a sense of humor as well. But it does actually recognize that it does have those limitations. So be warned, because forewarned is forearmed. So what about learning language, learning grammar? Well, I asked it to explain definite and indefinite articles in English, and this was the result. Yeah, it's quite clear. That's not a problem. You could then create an exercise that tests articles, indefinite and definite articles. So you say, yeah, please create an exercise for me to check my comprehension. And that is absolutely amazing. That's something that a Google search engine can't do, obviously. Another thing is definitions. If you don't understand words, or for example you have a problem understanding confusing words which are very similar, or even words which are false friends, which of course I deal with in my book. Little bit of advertising here. Cómo hackear el vocabulario inglés. It's all in there, but if there are specific words that you need, then you can find them on ChatGPT. So that's pretty good. So what about generating longer text but talks and presentations? Imagine you have to give a presentation in English and you go, oh my God, you go, oh no, I have ChatGPT. Well, here is an example for you. What about generating a TEDx talk? I've given some very specific instructions. Write me a 5-minute TEDx style talk about the future of renewable energies and include a personal story. And guess what? It has done that. So it has an introduction, then it has my personal story where I was growing up in a small town and my family relied on coal as our primary source of energy. So it has, you can basically ask it to do anything, and the more information you give it, the more instructions, the more detailed the text it generates will be. So that is absolutely unbelievable. So let's wrap up now. Let's look at it. It obviously has its limitations. It is a robot. So it's only as good as the information it can find. It's not a sentient being with creativity and human-like humour and intelligence and a way of thinking. We've seen that in this video very, very clearly. Those are the main uses for language learning and a little more. I don't know about you, but I'm a little disappointed, maybe because my expectations were very, very high. And suddenly I was expecting to interact with a robot, probably something similar to the one you find in Star Trek.
Computer, prepare to activate cascade force field sequence in the following.
However, it is useful and it has many, many, many possibilities that we can take advantage of when we are learning a language. And also, unfortunately, there are many malevolent uses that we can use it for, such as cheating and faking. And I'm sure, well, it's already happening. We'll just have to see what happens in the future. So before I open any cans of worms, I'll finish there. And if you've enjoyed this content with Simon, the language man, then hit subscribe, notification, like, etc. And I'll see you soon for more videos on language, voice and pronunciation. Bye for now.